absence sat between us on the edge of the room. We spoke about the weather like it mattered soon. You leaned back in the doorway, I stayed where I stood. The space held more meaning than words ever could. Your silence filled the table, my voice stayed polite. I noticed how distance learned to feel right. Patterns sat between us, heavy and clear. I stayed present in the drifting from here. Absence sat between us, no blame, no scene, just something missing quietly, where closeness had been. You asked about my afternoon, I answered in parts. We passed each other gently, without crossing hearts. The room remembered laughter from another time. I folded that memory away and stayed aligned. I said we should touch sometime, said some not now. I nodded like patience. Between us, the couch stayed wide. I leaned toward conversation from the side. Sat between us, the night stood still. I felt the end arriving without a will. Presence meant connection, this wouldn't ache. Learned how distance settles without a break. Across the space Dinner plans felt easy. We didn't overthink. You set a time, I nodded. Everything in sync. We laughed about small choices. Stood close in the hall. The day released its weight. The moment felt small. Your hand brushed mine in passing. No urgency, no doubt. I liked how nothing needed to be worked out. Dinner plans felt easy. Your voice calm and clear. The night unfolded gently with you near. Dinner plans felt easy. No effort to stay. I trusted how the hours found their way. We shared stories from the day. Nothing heavy said. Your eyes stayed with my sentences like they were lead. I noticed how the room felt, balanced, slow, aligned, like happiness was quiet and kind. You asked if I was hungry. I smiled instead. The answer felt unnecessary in how you read. Dinner plans felt easy. Your rhythm fit mine. I leaned into ordinary time and felt fine. Dinner plans felt easy. Your laugh felt close. I didn't measure distance or keep notes. If love always moved this softly, I'd never brace. I stayed inside the comfort of your pace. Dinner plans felt easy. Your hand on the door. I felt like nothing waited for more. Dinner plans felt easy. My shoulders released. I trusted how we arrived in peace. I started eating alone without saying why. I set the plate down gently and didn't sigh. The chair across from me stayed where it was. I stopped listening for footsteps between bites and pauses. You said you'd be late again. Your voice felt calm. I warmed the room with quiet and moved on. I started eating alone. The table stayed wide. I learned how silence tastes and didn't hide. I started eating alone. The clock finished meals without waiting this time. The light above the kitchen felt softer than before. I noticed how the day let go. I cleared the plate slowly, stood still by the sink. I realized how much energy waiting drinks. You asked if I had eaten, I said I was fine. My answer felt smaller but mine. I started eating alone, your place untouched. I've learned how nourishment doesn't ask for much. I started eating alone. By evening's wine, I stopped postponing myself one night at a time. If care lived in consistency, this wouldn't sting. I learned how independence begins quietly. I started eating alone, my hands felt steady. I chose to meet my own hunger. Myself arrive again without a sound. I stopped explaining how my days felt long. I stopped translating where we went wrong. I kept my sentences shorter, let them fall. I learned how quiet answers end it all. You asked if some friend was wrong. I said not much. My voice stayed level and light, beyond touch. I stopped explaining the weight I carried in. I learned how silence can protect the skin. I stopped explaining what I needed then. I watched my words grow careful now and then. didn't reach. I started defending my feelings or speech. I held my thoughts like closed hands, kept them near. I noticed how much easier it felt here. He thanked me for being easy, for staying calm. I folded everything unsaid into my palm. I stopped explaining and nothing broke. I stayed present in a room but rarely spoke. I stopped explaining and felt the shift. I watched the space between us slowly lift. Quiet meant survival, I learned it well. I chose not to narrate what I felt. I stopped explaining and found my ground. I stood inside my own thoughts, safe and sound. I stopped explaining and understood. I didn't lose my voice, I chose it. I waited on the couch with the lamp turned low. The hallway stayed empty, the clock moved slow. I listened for the elevator, counted cars outside. Every sound felt temporary until it died. I told myself you'd text soon, I told myself it's fine. The cushion kept my shape like I had time. I waited on the couch, your space beside my knee. The room stayed open for you and closed around me. I waited on the couch and night stayed wide. I held my breath between footsteps but never arrived. The screen glowed quietly, news I didn't read. I changed the channel slowly to match the speed. Your jacket stayed on your chair, plan. I folded my expectations into my hands. You said you'd be running late. It don't felt calm. I sat still and practiced waiting like a fool. Counted as closeness, you'd still be near. I learned how to stay seated inside fear. I waited on the couch, your outline in my head. I kept that I on longer than I said. I waited. I waited on the couch, my heart stayed kind. I held the door open quietly with time. I waited on the couch. I waited on the couch, your outline in my head. I kept the light on longer, and I said, waited on the couch. Later became a habit. You said it without weight. Your jacket stayed on longer. Your steps learned how to wait. I checked the clock without asking. Told myself not to mind. The room stayed set for company, while evening stretched its spine. He smiled and said, "It's nothing, just one more thing to do." I nodded like I understood, and waited up for you. Later became a habit. Your voice calm, never rushed. I held my plans like open hands, and learned to trust. Later became a habit. The light stayed white. I stayed awake with quiet thoughts until you arrived. The light above the table learned how to stay on. I folded time into smaller pieces, told myself I was strong. Your phone stayed close to silence. Mine stayed close to hope. I practiced patience carefully, like something I could hold. You said the days were headier. You said you'd make it right. I rearranged my grieving and waited through the night. Later became a habit. Your key turned slow. I stood up every time I heard a sound go. Later became a habit. Your tired face, I made its promises, you'd still be near. I watched the hours learn your name and disappear. Later became a habit. Your place held warm. I stayed inside unfinished hours and called them normal. Later became a habit. My voice stayed kind. I told myself this waiting was just time. I counted days by how long I waited, not by how we met. I learned your schedule by heart and called it closeness. I kept my questions folded inside careful tone. I stayed present and have conversations and felt alone. You said love meant understanding, meant staying kind. I realized how often patience replaced mine. Love turned into patience, quiet and thin. I stayed longer than connection would let me in. Love turned into patience, hope in disguise. I waited for affection, but never arrived. I lowered the volume of my needs until they fit. I mistook endurance for devotion and commitment. I told myself this was a season, not a sign. I kept choosing the future over the present time. You resent me for being steady, for never asking why. I felt something in me settle I learned how hope can slowly rearrange. Love turned into patience until I knew I was holding space alone for two. Love turned into patience, and quietly then I felt myself grow inside instead of love. Filled myself growing tired instead of love. I packed my heart first before the door. I folded all my questions and placed them low. I noticed how calm arrived without a sound, like something in me settled and stayed around. He talked about tomorrow like I would stay. I listened without correcting and let it play. I packed my heart first, piece by piece. I gathered what was left of me and felt release. I packed my heart first without a scene. I learned how quiet endings can be clean. I stopped waiting for the moment you would turn. I stopped hoping for a warmth you couldn't learn. The shape of leaving without the stamp. You said things felt the same, said we were fine. I stood inside a truth that wasn't mine. I packed my heart first before goodbye. I stayed calm in conversation, didn't cry. I packed my heart first, my hands felt sure. I carried sadness gently but secure. Relay starts inside us. This was mine. I chose myself in silence over time. I packed my heart first and set the shift. I didn't leave you empty, I left whole. I packed my heart first and understood. I wasn't walking away from love, I was choosing to leave. Talked about next weekends like they were already drawn. You smiled at future moments and moved the subject on. I nodded in the doorway, held time inside my chest. The room stayed open quietly while nothing got addressed. He said soon in gentle circles, like it didn't need a day. I waited for a number that never found its way. Promises without dates hanging in the air. I held on to tomorrow without knowing where. Promises without dates, your tone felt kind and safe. I trusted how you said it and left the rest to fate. You mentioned trips and evenings, laughed about a future scene. I tried to picture calendars with something in between. My phone stayed open nightly, your plans stayed undefined. I rearranged my patience to fit the gaps in time. You say let's not rush weeks into my weight and calling, making sense. Promises without dates, resting on your tongue. I listen for commitment in what state or song. Promises without dates, your voice stay calm and kind. I held on to your maybe and left myself behind. If you just lived in sentences, we'd already be dead. I learned how hope can linger without becoming real. Promises without dates, my hands learned how to rest. Stopped arranging maybe inside my chest. Promises without dates lost their way with time. I felt the truth arrive at last without a sign. Moved my plans around your hours, told myself it made sense. I learned to read your tired pauses as signals, not absence. I shortened my expectations, softened how I asked. I told my evenings to be flexible and let them pass. You said this season was demanding, said things would realign. I nodded like adjustment was a skill of mine. Rearrange my needs to fit your days. I folded parts of myself smaller in quiet ways. Rearranged my needs with careful grace. I stayed present in half moments and saved face. I canceled things without explaining, smiled and stayed polite. I said I was fine with changes most nights. I made space where you needed silence, kept my wants discreet. I practiced just being easy from my feet. You thanked me for understanding, said it helps you breathe. I mistook your relief for reciprocity. Rearrange my needs to keep us smooth. I learned to live on postponed feelings and smaller truths. Rearrange my needs so you could stay. I edited myself carefully, day by day. If compromise built closeness, we'd still be aligned. I held the shape of us together by bending mine. Rearrange my needs until they fit. I might have so quiet I had become within. Rearrange my needs until I knew the space I kept creating wasn't you. Sunday light on your face, curtains moving slow and thin. Your breathing finds the ceiling while my day begins in skin. I trace your eyebrow quietly, count freckles near your eye. The room feels held together by the way you lie. Your hand rests near my shoulder, your pulse feels steady, kind. I tell myself this moment is exactly time. Sunday light on your face, my world inside your sleep. I stay still so I don't disturb the peace you keep. Sunday light on your face, your warmth against my side. I memorize your quiet hours and let them guide. You turn toward me half awake, say my name You ask me what I'm thinking, I say nothing much. I press my cheek into your pillow and stay in touch. Sunday light on your face, your smile still soft and new. I walk through small emotion just to get to you. Sunday light on your face, your smile still soft and new. I walk through small emotions just to get to you. Sunday light on your face, you're laughing in my chest. I tell myself quietly, this is the best. Always stayed like this, I never feel afraid. I hold your quiet heartbeat like something I can save. Sunday light on your face, your breath beside I stand inside this simple moment and keep you near. Sunday light on your face, your eyes still closed in trust. I place my hope inside your hands and call it us. Waited in empty hours, watching evenings pass. The room learned how to hold itself when nothing asked. I noticed how the quiet didn't argue anymore. It sat beside me gently, like it knew the score. I stopped measuring minutes by when you might arrive. I felt my breath return to me and stay alive. Waited in empty hours, my hands at rest. The days move forward without a test. Waited in empty hours, the light stayed kind. I stood inside my own mirror and let it shine. I folded nights into mornings, didn't keep count. The weight I carried slowly lost its amount. Your absence stopped explaining Begin a quiet truth I could hold. I didn't need a reason, I didn't need a sign. I felt the end arrive softly, right on time. Myself into the day without looking back. Vegan starts with listening, I heard it clear. I chose myself without drama or fear. Waited in empty hours and life been out whole and steady with my life. We shared a bed, still apart. The sheets stayed cool between. Your back faced half the darkness, mine faced what we'd been. Your breathing found a rhythm that didn't ask for mine. I counted space instead of seconds and called it time. Your hand rested near my shoulder, never reaching through. I stayed awake beside your silence like I used to do. We shared a bed, still apart. Your warmth felt far away. I lay beside familiar skin and quietly stayed. We shared a bed, still apart. The nights stretched thin. I miss the weight of being held while holding in. The ceiling listened to my thoughts, the window learned my name. You shifted once, then settled back, and nothing changed. I traced the edge of your pillow like memory knew the way. My body stayed where love had been and didn't stray. You asked if I was sleeping, I said almost now. My voice stayed level and small, like a vow. We shared a bed still apart. Your eyes stay closed. I memorized the quiet guide where closeness goes. We shared a bed still apart. No fight, no sound, just two people right still on common ground. If closeness lived in distance, that's what an ache. I learned how touch can disappear without a break. We shared a bed still apart. Your space felt wide. I turned my face toward the wall and stayed and smiled. We shared a bed still apart. My heart stayed kind. I found myself begin to leave without a sign. You answered every message like time was never tied. Your words arrived in minutes, even late at night. You asked about my morning, you stayed for my replies. I felt my name land gently inside your life. Your attention felt intentional, your tone felt warm and clear. I didn't doubt your presence when you were near. You answered every message like I was always there. My phone felt lighter in my hands checked in without reasons, just to stay. I smiled at glowing sentences while standing in a line. The world felt balanced suddenly, like we had time. You said you liked my thinking. You asked how I slept. I didn't guard my sentences, I let them step. You answered every message. Your voice felt close. I carried calm through crowded hours because I knew you answered every message. Your care felt steady. I rested inside simple words, already ready. If the closeness always sounded like this, I'd never second guess. I held your consistency like a promise. You answered every message. Your name felt near. I trusted how you showed up without fear. You answered every message. My heart felt seen. I believed attention meant love, and stayed between. Your eyes look past me when I start to speak. You nod at the right moments, but never reach. I tell you about my afternoon. You answer with a sound. Your focus stays somewhere else while sitting right around. You say you're listening closely. Your face says something more. I finish sentences alone that used to feel shared before. Your eyes look past me like I'm not the room. I stand inside your silence and make it assume. Your eyes look past me. Your thoughts somewhere free. I keep my voice level so you don't hear me. You ask a question out of habit, then glance away. I watch your attention slowly decay. I pause to see if you'll return to where I am. The space between our breathing doesn't expand. You say you're tired lately, say it's been a lie, and not like that explains the distance we've got. Our eyes look past me. Your focus delayed. I speak into empty seconds and let them fade. you near, I learned how absence shows up, even here. Your eyes look past me, my name left unheard. I stop repeating myself, word after word. Your eyes look past me, my voice learns to rust. I feel myself stepping backward inside my look past me, my voice learns to rest. I feel myself stepping backward inside my chest. Your eyes look past me. Stay busy, lighting up your hand. You glanced down mid-sentence and smiled like you planned. I kept talking slowly, like nothing had changed. The room felt slightly distant, but still arranged. You said it was nothing, work passing through. I nodded like I always did. I waited on you. Your phone stayed busy, your eyes stayed away. I spoke into and filled the delay. Your phone stayed busy, the screen learned your face. I stood right in front of you and lost my place. Your tight while standing near me, laughed at something I missed. I folded my questions inward and closed my fist. kept moving forward. The couch stayed wide. I leaned into conversation from the side. You said you were listening. You said you were here. I watched your focus drift away and stayed clear. Phone stayed busy. Your thunderous speed. Learn how to finish sentences without being seen. Your phone stayed busy. Your silence replied. I stood in section moments, alone inside. If prisons needed proof, this wouldn't feel thin. I watched attention leave the room while you stayed in. Your phone stayed busy. Your name in the glow. I learned how to lower my voice and let it go. Your phone stayed busy. Light, please, and clear. I stayed beside you quietly and disappeared.